When did you realize that your partner was not, in fact, the one? Before we start with the first story, please hit a subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. This isn't a sad or dramatic one. We had a really good girlfriend and boyfriend type relationship, but when things got real and long-term commitment, marriage, buying a house, having a baby, peered over the horizon, we both freaked out and bailed. Catalyst was my mate's wedding towards the end of the relationship, and I was embarrassed at how leery and drunk she was being. She was annoyed that I was being no fun and wouldn't dance. There was no one else on the dance floor. We're still friends now. My wife is nothing like my ex, and my ex's new partner is nothing like me. Everyone involved made the correct decision. Story 2. I had a wedding catalyst realization as well. This guy and I dated through high school, and he wanted to get married the moment I turned 18. We honestly had real love for each other, but I already was reticent to get married that young and wanted to graduate college first. His best friends got married when they were 19-ish, and because he was in the bridal party, I sat alone and just had a jolt of panic run through me during the ceremony. I didn't want my life to be that way. I didn't want to get married the moment I stopped being a child and immediately have children and stay in my hometown forever. All my romantic love for him vanished because I realized he was trying to guilt me into having a life I didn't want so he could have the life he wanted. Took a while for me to manage breaking up with him, but I knew I needed to from that moment. Story 3. There was a picture she painted of me years ago that hung on our wall. It was beautiful and was like a whole bunch of blue triangles that made out my face, and it's my favorite thing of me that's ever existed. Then one day, after a couple bad years, she got in a relatively speaking small argument with me over something and started freaking out, tore the painting off the wall and destroyed it. The argument was so pointless I couldn't even remember what it was about a week later. I know it sounds dumb, but when she painted that for me at the beginning of our relationship, it meant everything to me, and after multiple awful years, that was when I knew things could never go back. And that painting an image I had of myself and our love and relationship would forever be broken and unfixable. Story 4. This one is so satisfying to read. A lot of my friends ask me why my last relationship ended, and this actually ended my last 2. It was like they couldn't be happy for me, and would shoot down any success or any feelings of being excited I had. It's so hard to articulate though, and I find married couples are like, it's not always rainbow and sunshine, and I am like, nobody ever said that. I just sometimes like to experience joy and feel supported as a guy. Story 5. The moment I surprised him with gym shorts, his reaction broke my excitement. He threw a tantrum, criticizing how they looked on him, and said he'd never wear them. His words make me hurt, but when he threw the package box at my face, I realized I had to go. It was a jarring wake-up call, showing me the disrespect and volatility. In that instant, fear mingled with resolve as I understood the need to escape such toxicity. It wasn't just about the shorts. It was about his inability to appreciate my gesture and his readiness to lash out violently. That moment marked a turning point, pushing me to prioritize my safety and well-being above all else. Story 6. One evening, amidst friends, I triumphed over him in a board game. Instead of taking the loss gracefully, he erupted into a tirade, screaming at me in front of everyone. The intensity of his anger and public humiliation struck me hard, and in that moment, clarity dawned. I realized he wasn't the one for me. It wasn't just about losing a game. It was about his inability to handle disappointment maturely and respectfully. His outburst shattered any illusions I had about our compatibility and revealed a side of him I couldn't ignore. From then on, doubts lingered, overshadowing our relationship. That pivotal moment became a catalyst for me to reassess what I truly wanted and deserved in a partner, prompting me to eventually walk away and seek a healthier, happier connection. Story 7. Arriving at the airport with flowers, I patiently waited for her, unaware she hadn't boarded the plane. After the last bag was claimed, the truth appeared: she had ghosted me. Concerned for her safety, I reached out to her mother, but she refused to speak to me, ignoring my calls and messages for 3 weeks. It was a hurt and painful experience, filled with unanswered questions and a sense of abandonment. The silence echoed loudly, leaving me grappling with uncertainty and hurt. Despite my efforts to reach out, she remained elusive, leaving me with no closure or explanation for her actions. It was a harsh lesson in the unpredictability of relationships and the pain of being left in the dark. But through it all, I learned to prioritize my own well-being and seek closure within myself. Story 8. When I found out that one of my close friends had suddenly died, and I burst into tears, to which he said, "What are you insecure about this time?" And when I said I just found out my friend died, he turned around and walked out of the room. The next day, I was talking to his mom about it in the kitchen, and she was comforting me, to which he again said, "Can you stop being insecure?" And his mom practically tore him in half with words. I left him soon after, and I'm now in a very happy and healthy relationship with someone who also helps navigate my grief with me. I miss his parents sometimes, though. They were lovely people and deserved a better son than him. Story 9. Dealing with him was like navigating a minefield. He'd crack open a case of beer, drowning himself in it until he was a stumbling, slurring mess. His drunken tirades would escalate into yelling matches about who knows what, before he'd inevitably collapse on the floor, reeking of alcohol and urine. The next day, he'd wake up as if nothing had happened, leaving me to clean up the mess, both literal and emotional. It was a never-ending cycle of chaos and denial. His behavior was baffling and frustrating, leaving me to wonder how someone could be so oblivious to the havoc they wreaked. In the end, it became clear that he was far from being a winner, but rather a prisoner to his own destructive habits. Story 10. It had been over 6 months since we last shared intimacy. Hoping to reignite the spark, I decided to go down on her as we woke up, but instead of reciprocating, she remained motionless. Confused, I looked up to find her in tears. That's when she confessed to something I had long suspected. After 8 years together and a move across the country to pursue our dreams, she had been cheating on me for months, with her boss's son, no less. The revelation hit like a ton of bricks, shattering the foundation of trust we had built. It was a betrayal that cut deep. Story 11. When the SWAT team captain said, "Your wife is out running around with people like this? You need to get a divorce." My wife had a 6-figure job at one point, and we lived a happy life for a while, but she never grew out of her party phase from when she was younger. I was blinded by love, but no matter what she did, I would tolerate it and then forgive her. She lost her job from being continually late all the time, suspected of doing drugs at work and taking too many martini lunches. Her drug dealer got her to sell drugs for him while she was unemployed. Cut to her spending all hours out at night while I work a normal 9-5 and did homework with the kids. She would come home and be high from meth benders and completely detached from reality, just did not care. One night I get a knock at the door while my kids and I are laughing and doing homework. It's the SWAT team captain, peering into the home to see my kids and asking if I can come outside to talk. I agree and am told with the door closed that the house is surrounded with his team packing MP5s, and they are looking for this Dutch bag last seen with my wife who had shot someone over a deal gone bad. I'm mortified to hear this and get the question above that changed my life for the better. You don't love her. She's a menace. She will eventually pull you and the kids down. Divorce is worth every penny. Story 12. I spent hours scrubbing the house spotless on my one day off from work. I pre-scheduled a delivery order of Chinese food for 7 p.m. I put on new lingerie I had ordered and lit candles. I did my hair, nails, and makeup, put on his favorite perfume. When he came home at 6, I enthusiastically told him everything was taken care of for the night, and we had a whole hour until dinner arrived to do whatever we wanted. I intended to be romantic. He got really angry. He didn't yell, his voice got weird and quiet. He said he knew I was manipulating him and ruining his plans to watch a DJ night live stream. He said I was acting like a sex predator. He said my mentally ill behavior was forcing him to making a no-kissing rule going forward, effective immediately, as punishment because I couldn't be appropriate. He said I was wasting all his money on takeout because I'm just a stupid gold digger who's bad with money. That I only wanted to baby trap him so he wouldn't leave me. He was relentless angry and I was horrified. We had been together for 14 years, married 4 years, and I loved him. He locked himself in our guest bedroom and only came out when the food arrived, then grabbed it off the counter and went right back in. Refused to look at me. I still hoped he was coming out after the live stream, so I sat on the couch alone and ate my dinner in silence for an hour. When I realized he was not coming out, even to apologize, I was overwhelmed with this soul-rending despair. I went to my room alone and cried myself to sleep so hard I lost my voice the next day. I was so mucking lonely and scared all the time with him. That wasn't my first time seeing him transform into Judge Doom, and unfortunately it was not the last. We divorced 2 years later when he left me for real. He still tries to make my life a living hell through the courts every possible second he can. Story 13. Gonna get buried, but college relationship. We'd met via a hobby, and in retrospect, I had definitely just been trying to get over someone else by dating her. It probably should have occurred to me way earlier over the 2 years we were together, and I was definitely in denial of it. What finally got me was after college, when I went to visit her estate away and we went to the mall. Her sister had given her her old Wii, so she had asked me to help her pick out some game. I immediately saw Smash Brothers Brawl on sale and excitedly explained it to her. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "What about that makes you think I'd ever like it?" Okay, stung a bit, but probably true. Someone who didn't play a lot of video games likely wouldn't care much about Smash. I probably should have been more open-minded to other things. We browsed a bit and she was contemplating Mario Kart Wii, but hemming and hawing BC it was full price. I told her she really didn't have to buy anything right now, and she sighed and said, "But how am I supposed to entertain you otherwise?" Turned out she'd only taken the Wii because she thought she needed to entertain me. Her so of 2 years. When I usually went up there, we did lots of things together, and I didn't exactly want for entertainment when visiting my girlfriend, since I usually went to visit my girlfriend to, hang out with my girlfriend. I have no idea where this came from. As she kept talking, it clicked that all of my interests I'd showed her, video games, mystery novels, favorite music, had been tolerated. BC, she thought I'd get bored otherwise. Right before we'd gone to the mall, she'd told me she'd also only ever been tolerating receiving oral sex and had put up with it because it made you so happy to give it, and I had been trying to play it. Cool and be understanding about that despite being really hurt, but all of it added up. And once we ended it, it was just clear how much I didn't actually like or relate to her and vice versa. I could probably make a list a mile long of all the times I should have realized it, starting even hours into our first date. Even our shared hobby was shallow, since within it, we had completely different opinions and tastes. I'm pretty sure that after a while I just didn't want cause waves in our college friend group, and I did in the end anyway because they all stopped reaching out or responding to me after we broke up, but stayed friends with her. Married the next person I dated, and I think sometimes she understands me better than I understand myself. Also, she plays Smash. Story 14. When we were driving through the city and we saw my brother on a bike heading to work, he made a joke about it along the lines that my brother was poor and pathetic and how embarrassing it must be to ride a bike to work. Yes, my brother was currently struggling, and I was actually helping him with rent at the time. I then started noticing he would always make comments about my immigrant family struggling. This was coming from a man that somehow never managed to keep a job more than a month or so, and eventually expected me to financially support him. When we divorced, I discovered he had a crippling amount of secret credit card debt and substantial amount owed to friends and family. He now lives with mom off her benefits. I highly suspect elderly abuse, and my brother, well, let's just say his wife and kids no longer have to look at price tags, and he spends his Sundays cruising around in my ex's dream classic car. I never told my brother any of this, but it makes me feel pleased inside. Karma. Story 15. Not me, my older sister. A guy had been talking to her online for 2 years. She believed they were best friends, and eventually she believed he was her soulmate, her twin flame, etc. They even met once, and she let him take her to a new city to watch a film. I was told none of this at the time. I was told when she started talking marriage and how she loved him and wanted his kids and how he was the one, about a week before the dark turn. Cut to last month. She finds out the guy was lying to her. He was of a different religion, and it broke her heart. We were raised to marry only within our religion, part of the reason I've left it. Then came the belief that she could hear him in her soul and he could hear us, and he was cursing her and would kill her, make her ugly if she didn't marry him. This led to a psychotic breakdown where she didn't sleep for 5 days. Still the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. I'm still dealing with the after effects. Her seeing things, hearing him. Her attacking my autistic brother twice. Me not being able to sleep properly because she's whispering to herself or washing clothing. She's developed psychosis because of it and is now on antipsychotics. It's terrifying. I don't know what will make her flip, and it's different each day. I have a crisis team visiting the house, plus doctors, because she refuses her meds if I ask her to take them. She knows she has to if they ask her. Muck people that do that, man. She's a good person. Also, let your kids fall in love and experience heartbreak. My mom was a helicopter parent, and clearly keeping us safe doesn't work. All right, folks, that's a wrap. If you like more of this, please hit a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your thoughts in the comment below. I'll see you in the next video.